What are some of the dumbest things people will do because their brains decided to take a nap? Let's find out, starting with number 6, busted. Carlos Mejia from Queens, New York, decided he had had enough of local thieves targeting his deliveries. In a clever stunt to nab a thief, he set up decoy packages outside his door, knowing well that many porch pirates don't consider the commonality of doorbell cameras these days. The trap was set, and sure enough, Victor Stazzone took the bait. Caught on Mejia's home security camera, which later grabbed over 800,000 views on TikTok, Stazzone is seen tiptoeing to the porch, seizing the package, and attempting to cram it into his backpack. Just as he grabbed the box, filled merely with old French fries and a sternly worded note, Mejia stormed out, wielding a baseball bat. Stazzone's shock was evident as he tried to argue that he actually owned the items in his bag. When he realized that wasn't going to work, he switched tactics with panicked offers of, "You can have everything, bro." But the offers fell on deaf ears as furious Mejia confronted him. Despite Stazzone's insistence that he lived nearby, Mejia was having none of it. Stazzone tried to escape by scaling a fence, but Mejia was quick to pull him back and pin him down until police arrived. Lying face down and handcuffed, Stazzone's confused questions about his arrest added to the scene's absurdity. Police took Stazzone into custody as he dramatically called for an ambulance and whined about his hand. He faced charges including petty larceny, criminal possession of stolen property, and criminal trespass. Mejia later shared the decoy package's contents on TikTok, revealing the old fries and a humorous note that essentially warned thieves that they might not be so lucky next time. It's weird that this is still a thing, considering how many doorbell cameras there are and how more and more people are getting identified and caught. You can literally see the camera as you walk up. Why even bother? So you can steal someone else's commemorative Minecraft mug and a pack of Tupperware? Dumb. Number 5. She thought it was fun. Amber McCann from Palm Coast, Florida, was arrested at a local Walmart after swiping a cart full of goods valued at $1,000. Casually admitting to the deed, she humorously claimed she was merely playing a game she seemingly just made up called 21, a challenge to shoplift as much as possible without getting caught, which is somehow different from ordinary shoplifting. Anyway, her laugh-filled confession was captured on police body cam footage. The situation escalated when police searched her boyfriend's vehicle, uncovering not only the stolen Walmart merchandise, but also a variety of contraband. Items found included a digital scale, a substance similar to concentrated cannabis, a glass pipe with residue, and bags that had once held various illegal substances. A locked safe containing various precious metal bars was also discovered, adding more questions to an already confusing scene. McCann's initial claim that she had just stashed the stolen items in some random car. However, it was pretty obvious that she was lying and the cops knew it, so she finally admitted the car was her boyfriend's and insisted he was oblivious to her criminal activities. McCann's fun game landed her in deep trouble, facing a multitude of charges. In Florida, her level of shoplifting, between $300 and $20,000, could be punished by up to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. And what a weird excuse, right? Was she really thinking that if she told the police that she was just playing a fun game that they'd let her go? The sad thing is, with all these dumb internet challenges around, we actually had to look up if this was a real game or not. It isn't. Number 4. Simply greed. Martin Mizrahi, the CEO of Las Vegas internet service provider LV.net, was convicted for his involvement in a shocking credit card fraud and money laundering operation. This businessman, who loved showing off his luxury life online, found himself in serious trouble after a 12-day trial in Manhattan federal court. Initially arrested in 2022, Mizrahi was charged alongside 3 others in a scheme that laundered up to $4 million. This included $3 million swiped from a New York nonprofit and dirty money from a Mexican cartel. Mizrahi utilized Bitcoin for these shady transactions, converting the ill-gotten gains into crypto and sending them to anonymous digital wallets. And the fraud didn't stop there. Mizrahi's company processed nearly $8 million in fake credit card charges. He fabricated invoices and duped banks and credit card companies into thinking these charges were legit. His extravagant lifestyle, funded by this fraud, was no secret either, as his Instagram was plastered with images of luxury cars, expensive watches, and high-end vacations. Mizrahi's defense was a staunch denial of any wrongdoing, claiming he believed the funds were from legitimate sources. However, the evidence presented at trial proved otherwise, convincing the jury of his guilt across multiple charges, including wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering, and identity theft. The verdict was clear. Mizrahi had misused his company as a front to launder millions from trafficking and fraud. At the time of this video, Mizrahi is awaiting sentencing and faces a potential maximum of 127 years behind bars. The stupid thing about this is the guy was already doing really well for himself. His company is a well-known, popular internet provider in Vegas. It's been around since 1994. So why risk that for money that wouldn't change his lifestyle at all? Oh yeah, because of greed. Number 3. The Pretend Cop. Evelyn Ibarra Fernandez from West Lake Hills, Texas, found herself in big trouble after pulling a fast one by pretending to be a cop and trying to rob 3 women. She ended up charged with impersonating a public servant, a third-degree felony. Things kicked off with a 911 call about reckless driving. The caller reported seeing a woman in the backseat of a car, apparently under the influence, frantically waving down passers-by for help. The call mysteriously dropped and attempts to reconnect failed. When police arrived at the scene, they stumbled upon 2 cars and 2 women standing outside. One of these women was Ibarra Fernandez, who was caught red-handed with a strong grip on another woman's arm. The other woman claimed that Ibarra Fernandez was holding onto her personal items. Police had to forcibly retrieve these items from Ibarra Fernandez, who got defensive during the ordeal. The plot thickened as officers learned from the 3 victims that Ibarra Fernandez had been tailing their car for about a mile, using her hazards and honking to get their attention. The victims pulled over near a neighborhood gate code entry, and that's when Ibarra Fernandez made her move. She blocked their vehicle, claimed she was a police officer, and forcibly pulled one of the women from the back seat. She didn't stop there. She marched her victim away, swiping her ID, cell phone, and credit card. Doubling down on her act, Ibarra Fernandez returned to the vehicle, still masquerading as an officer, and rifled through another passenger's belongings, snagging $840, more IDs, and credit cards from a backpack. She tried her luck with the driver's side, but was denied access. Undeterred, she took photos of the stolen credit cards and IDs she already had. Police confronted Ibarra Fernandez and demanded to see the photos, but pretended like she didn't know what they were talking about, locking her phone and refusing to unlock her recently deleted photos. Her defense? She claimed she never said she was a police officer and was merely trying to help because she thought one of the women was taken under the influence. Of course, she also denied taking any property, despite blatantly having the property in her possession. Despite her protests, the evidence stacked against her painted a clear picture of exactly what went down, leading to her arrest. Number 2. Cruising to jail. Alexis Murr, a 31-year-old from Raleigh, North Carolina, was arrested in Miami for funding a lavish family vacation with 8 stolen credit cards. Her extravagant spending spree included booking 2 staterooms on the Oasis of the Seas, a luxury Royal Caribbean cruise ship, for a week-long Caribbean cruise costing an insane $22,400. Murr's high seas adventure began with the cruise scheduled to visit exotic locations like Labadee in Haiti, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, and the Bahamas. However, her tropical escapade was cut short by vigilant Royal Caribbean staff who detected suspicious activities linked to her bookings. On the morning of her return to Miami, police officers and U.S. Customs and Border Protection were waiting for her at the port of Miami. An investigation revealed Moore was carrying 4 of the stolen credit cards in her wallet, confirming her involvement in the fraud as Moore faced serious charges. Moore's case is a stark reminder that even on the high seas, crime doesn't pay. Unless you're an actual pirate, then it pays, but not very well. Cruise ships like the Oasis of the Seas are equipped with sophisticated technology to detect and prevent fraud, working closely with financial institutions to monitor on-board transactions. Alexis Moore's arrest highlights not only the reach of law enforcement across borders, but also the false sense of security that criminals might feel when indulging in such high-profile fraudulent activities. And she spent over $22,000 on that cruise? Half of that was probably just for the onboard liquor, knowing those prices. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay right here for our past release to find out how police found this guy because of his dumb pictures. Number 1. The cover-up. Kirsty Williams, a teaching assistant from the UK, got herself tangled up in an insurance scam when her then boyfriend, Ryan Lowe, crashed her car while trying to outrun the police. Kirsty falsely reported her Peugeot 108, basically a UK version of a Ford Fiesta, stolen after Ryan ditched the car in the bushes and vanished into the night. Ryan Lowe, a former amateur rugby player, had been speeding down a major road, refusing to stop for the cops. The chase escalated to speeds of 80 miles per hour on city roads before he crashed. The same night, Kirsty claimed to the police that her car had been stolen by some unknown thief, a story she stuck to until forensic tests revealed Ryan's DNA in the car. The plot thickened when the police raided Kirsty's home, uncovering a stash of illegal substances worth nearly $3,900, along with some weighing scales, cash, and a phone linked to Ryan's dealing activities. They even found a machete and canisters of laughing gas. Kirsty was quick to distance herself from the contraband and insisted Ryan had told her to report the car stolen. She admitted to having spoken to him during the chase, begging him to stop. Meanwhile, Ryan defended his dealing as a desperate move to settle his own debts to avoid injury from unsavory people he owed money to. Despite their troubles, Kirsty and Ryan managed to avoid jail time. Kirsty pleaded guilty to her charges and received a 10-month suspended sentence. Ryan also pleaded guilty to multiple charges and got a 2-year suspended sentence. What happens when there's nothing going on between the ears? Hilarious crimes that are easily solved. Let's get right to it with number 9, the bus pass. Amateur thief Jordan McDonald robbed a businessman but made the critical mistake of forgetting his bus pass in the car. McDonald was part of a 4-man gang that lay in wait for a young businessman who was withdrawing cash from a bank in Birmingham, England. After robbing the man, the gang zoomed away in their vehicle, which they eventually abandoned. The police would have never had a clue about the identity of any of the men if Jordan hadn't made the mistake of forgetting his bus pass in the getaway car. After searching the car, the police found the pass and a shopping voucher, both of which had his name on them. After that, the rest of the investigation was light work. The police stormed McDonald's home, apprehended him, and went through his phone. That's when they found images showing bundles of 50-pound notes neatly laid on a stairway at his girlfriend's house. It's always a good idea to take pictures of piles of cash you stole and post them on social media so that all of the people who know you aren't rich are now going to think you are rich. Fanning out money or placing wads of money all over the place will serve as proof to all the non-believers, of course. McDonald tried to pass the funds off as money acquired from selling a car, but that excuse was never going to fly. He was eventually jailed for 8 years for his crimes, and he'll get to ride a different bus. Number 8, the worst appointment ever. Jason Dante Hayes was apprehended by police officers after arranging a meeting with a 70-year-old victim he'd abducted and robbed a day before. The meeting was originally planned so that his victim could hand over even more of her money to him. Unfortunately for Hayes, having a follow-up appointment for a shakedown isn't as good of an idea as it sounds. The night before, Hayes had broken into the home of the old lady. He woke her up with a pistol on her shoulder and then demanded money. She said she didn't have any, but had some money in her bank account. Hayes then drove her to an ATM and asked her to withdraw $2,000. However, the ATM couldn't dispense that amount, so it only released $460 to the thief. Instead of taking the money and just leaving, our man Hayes had a different idea. He drove the woman back to her home, woke up her husband, and threatened them for about an hour. He told them to meet him in a parking lot the next day with the balance of the $2,000 he wanted to steal, and that he'd be wearing the same clothes so they could identify the correct bad guy. He told them that if they didn't, he would come back to take their lives. He also warned them sternly not to involve the police. And off he went, safe in the expectation that his extended robbery was in no danger of going awry. You know, he was like really stern with them. So of course they're going to listen, right? Well, he wasn't nearly stern enough. The couple defiantly called the police, unwilling to take orders from some kid who was shaking them down. At first, the police didn't believe that Hayes would be dumb enough to come to the appointment wearing clothes that would identify him, but was plenty dumb enough. When Hayes arrived for the meeting, the police simply arrested him. In the end, the chief of police said that Hayes was probably the dumbest criminal he would see that year. Number 7, forget something? Robert Hobby and Marcus Reeves were arrested after robbing a store and forgetting a wallet, government ID, and a shoe. According to the police, the two men had a grand time robbing convenience stores of cigarettes and lottery tickets. The only problem with their actions is that they didn't exactly plan it out. First, the stores they robbed all had CCTVs, and all of them captured Hobby and Reeves taking smoke breaks while carrying out their robberies. But just seeing some schmo smoking on CCTV isn't enough to ID said schmo. So the police still needed more info to track the thieves down. So Reeves, who's in no way related to Keanu, decided to make the job easier for the police by leaving his wallet behind while making his lazy getaway where he responsibly kept his ID. But wait, there's more. He also found a way to forget his shoe, which is seriously impressive incompetence if you think about it. How badly do you have to suck at robbery to not just forget an ID card, but one of your shoes? It's not like it was a scarf or something. The thing literally goes on your feet. Anyway, the police simply ran the forgotten ID, then showed up at Reeves' house to arrest him. He knew the jig was up when they found him and took him into custody, where he promptly confessed. Number 6. Don't mess with the Royal Marines. A man tried to show off his exceptional lack of brains by trying to rob a Tesco while 3 Royal Marines stood mere yards away promoting a charity event where they were going to row across the Atlantic on the same route the Titanic took. The 18-year-old criminal grabbed up items such as perfumes and a hairdryer and was ripping off security stickers from them. Remember, he was doing this in full view of the Marines in the area. But he didn't just rip off stickers off items he wanted to steal. He also went on to assault the security man who asked him about what he was doing. Well, the Marines, being Marines, didn't really like the idea of someone shoplifting in front of them. So, the infuriated soldiers pursued the thief to the parking lot where he was ragdolled, then dragged back into the store by the scruff of his neck. The police had already been called and were already waiting for him. Number 5. Welcome to my crib. Huaka Yang recorded himself confessing to a crime with the camera he stole. Yang had stolen the camera from a car in the driveway of Republican State Senate candidate Bill Feehan. The camera itself didn't belong to Bill Feehan. Instead, it was the property of one of Feehan's aides, a man named Chris Rochester. The police found the camera and returned it to Chris as part of an investigation into recent thefts in the area. At the time, he didn't check the contents of the camera because he didn't seriously think the thief would have a brain made up of 50% air and 50% stupid air. Fortunately, Chris was wrong, and that was precisely the sort of brain this thief had. When he went through the camera, he found a couple of videos that he hadn't recorded and decided to go through them. That was when he saw a video of Yang demonstrating his air to stupid air ratio. He talked about how he stole the camera, introduced himself with his full name, and also gave a tour of his home. It's difficult to imagine a dumber criminal. Chris took the video and uploaded it to YouTube for the world to see. He wanted to know if this was truly the dumbest criminal ever, and our answer is probably. He makes the top 10 list at least. In any case, the police got a hold of the video and then showed the clip to officials at the local high school. They recognized the student in the video, and the student identified Yang, who was promptly arrested. Number 4. Reputational excellence. Jamie Sharp was jailed again after he was caught breaking into the home of a mother of 4. The victim caught him on camera and distributed his photos online. That was when he was identified as a criminal who had been on Britain's Dumbest Criminals, a show about criminals with the most air for brains. The show featured a popular episode that explored how Sharp stole a vehicle, then made a video while driving the vehicle, and then crashed that vehicle into a wall and trapped himself inside. So when the victim of Sharp's recent carjacking distributed the CCTV snapshots of his break-in, people quickly recognized him as the moron from the TV show. His victim, who shared his photos online, had a CCTV placed right outside her house. Sharp had no idea that this camera existed, so when he decided to break into her home, he didn't account for it. Sharp began his operation at night when his victim was in her bed sleeping. Her dog barked while the crime was ongoing, but she just thought it was her dog doing that dog thing where they bark at trees or something. Then she came out and found her door ajar and her car stolen. The burglar also took her iPad, handbag, and the medications for her disabled child that were left in the car. Thankfully, her neighbor had the CCTV camera that pointed directly in front of her house, so she retrieved snapshots from it. The shots did justice to the scene as they captured everything that our not-so-sharp criminal, Jamie Sharp, had done. She distributed those snapshots online, and if anyone recognized the thief. But Sharp was something like a local hero of dumbness, so he was instantly identified. Hundreds of people people, including his mother, reached out to the police to identify him. Even his mother understood that he needed to get off the streets and go to jail. In the end, poor, dumb Jamie Sharp was caught and charged in court. His victim testified and in her impact statement asked the judge to lock him up for a long time as he was never going to change. Unsurprisingly, the court also found out that this was hardly his first or second crime. Back in 2013, he had stolen an Audi from a burgled home and had been arrested after a long car chase that involved 4 police cars and a helicopter. The judge considered all these facts and then sentenced him to 4 years in jail. One can only hope that Sharp comes out of the prison a changed man, because if he doesn't, he'll probably get recognized as a famously dumb criminal again. Number 3. Outsmarted by a fence. This thief got stuck on the same fence twice in one night during 2 different burgle expeditions. Yes, you heard that right. The first time the thief got stuck was around 3 a.m. when he climbed over the store's fence to steal 24 cans of energy drink. The fence, loyal to the store, attempted to detain the thief by holding him by his britches. He was lucky that a passing car stopped by the fence and those inside freed him, not knowing they were helping the bad guy. But he wasn't as lucky the second time. Around 2 hours later, the same thief returned to the same store to steal again. This time, he got in and took a crate of beer, thinking he'd outsmart the fence. But the fence had other plans, and he got stuck again. But the thief wasn't gonna go down without a fight. He'd learned a thing or two since the first time the fence got him, so he tried putting off his pants to make his escape. It did not work. The thief was placed under citizen's arrest by the fence till around 6:30 a.m. when a passerby saw him and called the police. When the police came, he was arrested, and all the stolen items were retrieved from his home. The owner of the store was alerted as well and asked to watch the CCTV recording of the entire incident. It was so hilarious that the owner said he almost rolled on the floor laughing. Number 2. Identify yourself. 3 women, Zeynep Spee Maddox, Kirsten Laurie, and Kimberly St. John Stevenson, have been sentenced after running a Facebook scam that swindled hundreds of mothers looking for a bargain. The scam started like a regular business. Zeynep Spee Maddox created a Facebook group that was supposed to be a space where new mothers could get heavily discounted items like toys, car seats, and even trips to Disney World. News of the site soon spread through word of mouth, and almost 200 mothers joined it. People who wanted to purchase items on the site got their first product with no hassle. The discounts were real and the products arrived on time. However, subsequent orders didn't usually go according to plan. The customers would purchase the item, but Zeynep, the creator of the site, wouldn't send the product nor provide a refund. There was also some creative accounting with the money that was coming in through the sales that never happened. They sent the money back and forth through several bank accounts in an attempt to launder it. It probably would have been successful, but all of their names and contact information was listed on the site, so there was no way to disguise or hide their operation. Soon, a local reporter heard of the site and went undercover to meet one of the women, Zeynep Spee Maddox, offline. Immediately, after realizing that it was a sting operation, Zeynep fled the scene and also the country. Coincidentally, the police were already investigating. According to the police, Zeynep took trips to China, Cancun, and Dubai to avoid prosecution. When she got back to the U.S., she made sure she stayed far away from Ohio. During that time, one of her co-conspirators, Kimberly St. John Stevenson, was maintaining an account that Zeynep had access to, which enabled her to withdraw over $60,000 while on the run. Zeynep was eventually arrested in Las Vegas on a fugitive warrant and extradited to Ohio to face the law. Kimberly St. Stevenson and Zeynep's sister Kirsten were also arrested in connection to the Facebook group fraud. The group was hit with multiple felony charges, including conspiracy, aggravated theft, money laundering, telecommunications fraud, engaging in a pattern of corrupt activity, and possessing criminal tools. Zeynep was sentenced to 6 years in prison for her efforts, and Kimberly was released after spending over a year in custody. Number 1. Through the roof. Amateur thieves Brittany Burke and Richard Pariseau got into something of a mix after they used a stolen credit card at a small store. And by mix, we mean Richard got tased, bro, and Brittany tried to escape through the vents but fell back into the store. She also lost one of her shoes in all the excitement. Here's how this hilarious episode started for this less intelligent Bonnie and Clyde. They tried to use a stolen credit card to purchase goods at a store. Cashier called the police, and an officer quickly arrived at the scene. The officer attempted to arrest the couple, but the kerfuffle ensued, and Brittany ran back into the store. Meanwhile, the officer at the door continued to grapple with Richard to try and force him to surrender. He was quickly tased by the police and ultimately subdued. During that electrifying event, Brittany was running around the store looking for ways to escape. She went to the back room of the store and saw an air vent. Clearly, being a fan of Die Hard, the greatest Christmas movie ever, she thought she could escape, but it ended up more like The Breakfast Club. She planned to use it to get out of the store since the entrance was blocked by the cop, but it didn't quite work that way. Instead, she fell out of the roof of the store right into the shelves and onto the floor. At that point, Brittany realized that she wasn't getting away and surrendered. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section what you'd rather do. Take $10,000 guaranteed, or flip a coin for a 50-50 chance at $100,000 or zero.